Hi guys, welcome to the Fiberista Files. Today is May 6th, 2010, and this is episode 4. Let's get started. What's in the dye pots? I have been busy in the dye pots. I've been busy. I had all weekend off last weekend to just dye, and it was awesome. I did a bunch of new colorways and some repeat colorways that came out different. I'm not sure if the town has put something in the water, that an additive that has changed the way my dyes react or not, but I've got some new colorways that are really old colorways that didn't come out right. Happy accidents, they happen all the time. This is Dionysus. This is shades of grape, like wine, plummy wine and green. It's supposed to be, Dionysus, the god of wine and celebration. There are some white areas in this roving, but not a lot. A lot of it's various shades of purple and green. Down East, a reflection of the Down East section of Maine, one of my favorite places to be. You can see this one is much brighter than the last one. It has turquoise and teal green and a little bit of plum and some bright purple, all blueberries and ocean and all that delicious goodness of Down East Maine. This next one's working title is Sky Dance. I don't like that title. I think it's stupid. I love naming things, but every once in a while when I try and name something of my own, I fail. So I'm working on a new one, but for now this is called Sky Dance. This is nice chocolatey brown, sky blue, and some white areas. This is supposed to reflect watching clouds through tree branches. So here's the clouds, here's the sky, here are the tree branches. Supposed to be. I think it's beautiful. It has a lot of white in it, which I think would be great as a Navajo ply. You get this nice transition from one color to the next. That's what that is. The next one is Dandelion. It is beautiful gold yellow, a nice bronzy, aged sort of patina bronze slash greenish color. Some olivey greens. And they all blend together. There's almost no white in this roving. There's all just different shades of the yellows and greens. I love this. I think it would be, I kind of want to keep some for myself. Job hazard, I guess. This one is Gaia. All of Earth's greens, bright greens, mint greens, foresty greens, olivey greens, all kinds. There's a little bit, I don't want to call it undyed or white. It's just really, really, really faded shades of green. I think if you held up something that was white next to it, this would not look white to you at all. Hard to see on the computer, but this is Gaia. And the last one that I have for you today is called Candy Apple. I was really going for the brightness of the candy on the apple, as well as those sections at the very bottom of the apple where the candy kind of pools, and if you look through it, it's really dark, like the light doesn't reflect as well, which are these darker sections here. This would be, oh boy, this would be a nice bright, bright, bright cowl or something of that nature if you were to knit it up. I love this colorway. I love reds. I love all reds. So that's what's been in the dye pots. It occurred to me this weekend while I was dyeing that if I was going to show you all the stuff that had been in the dye pots, I ought to actually show you the dye pots. They're not really pots. When I do a pound of fiber at a time, I use, especially when I'm spot dyeing or space dyeing, I use these foil pans. These are just those turkey roasting pans that you get at the shop, the Hannaford or whatever, at Thanksgiving time to cook your turkeys in. Very straightforward and plain. I use them all the time. I don't dispose of them. I try really hard to reuse as many materials as I can. Oops. When I dye. This one goes on the bottom shelf, and you can tell because the edges here are all bent in because it doesn't quite fit in the oven with the shelf that's above it, so I had to bend the edges in. It works fine. It's really not ever been a problem. And you just rinse them and reuse them. I also even reuse the pieces of tin foil. Now what I do is when I put the 4 bundles of fiber and I space dye them or spot dye them or whoever it is that I'm doing, make sure that they've got water in them as well so that the dye can move around. I then put this piece of tin foil over the top just to cover it a little bit. It doesn't have to be really tight like a seal. I just set it on top so that the heat coils don't have open access to the fiber and can't kind of mess it up. It's worked great for me so far, and I've used those probably for 10 or 15 pounds worth of fiber, and they're still going strong. So it is important to me to reuse as many materials as possible. Oh, I forgot. If I'm kettle dyeing, this is my kettle. I call it a pot. Except when we're talking about dye pots, and then I call it a kettle because it's kettle dyeing. I can't keep up with the contradiction. This is a giant stock pot that you would find in a diner or a restaurant that has like chicken soup or stew or something in like that. You put a little bit of dye in, throw some yarn in or some fiber, pour more on top of it. I usually use this when I'm dyeing yarn. I think that the colors, the variegation shows up better in yarn than in fiber. Throw the yarn in there, put some more dye on, put some more yarn on top of that, more dye on top of that, smush it around a little bit, make sure everything is sort of patted down where it can all get access to the dye. If there's not enough dye, I will add some water to make sure that it can all get in there and get saturated, and then set that on a low heat for 45 minutes, and the water's usually pretty clear, and I'm ready to rinse. So those are the dye pots. Oop, I just heard the door. My husband came home. Business. How am I growing my business? Right? I just kicked that. I got my business cards this week. They're fabulous. I got them from Vistaprint.com. Vistaprint has, they're free. They're not really free. You have to pay shipping, and if you want to edit anything, like I changed some of the colors and the color of the font and stuff. And so it did cost me like $20 for 250 business cards, and they have their little logo on the back that says Vistaprint.com. That's fine. It didn't bother me. I wanted to put the Fiberista files on the back, but I didn't want to pay an extra $10, so I didn't. There's always next year, next season, or whenever I run out of the 250 that I bought. You'll do notice that it says owner/Fiberista there on the top front. What can I say? They also had in the box, they shipped to me a coupon for a free banner, so I have a 1.5 foot by 3 foot banner that's coming to me in the mail. That cost me $6 for shipping, and that was it. It was awesome. All right, Grabby Hands. The first Grabby Hands isn't an object, it's a site. It is a website for Craft Culture's podcast, craftculture.dannydo.com. You've got to go there. Danny Do of Danny Do Crafty, the woman who does this podcast, who's the creator of this podcast for Crafty Thinkers, is going on a summer world tour this summer. She is traveling across the country, interviewing and recording knitters, spinners, any place where knitters gather, all sorts of ethnographic and sociological information about knitters. She's doing a huge project that hopefully will someday evolve into a book, possibly a world tour. Really excited about this. If you go to the website, craftculture.dannydo.com, you can donate to help her get the funds that she needs to take this trip. And if you donate $50 or more, you get your business or blog or whatever in a link on the sidebar, and there are tiered donation levels that you get rewarded for as much as you go up. Please, please, please consider donating. Danny Do is doing an awesome thing, sort of validating and studying the history of knit and its place in modern culture. So definitely check out her site, and please consider donating. The other Grabby Hands I have is 2 books. The first book is a fiction book. It's called How to Knit a Love Song by Rachel Herron. This book is awesome. I was not sure I was going to like it. I wasn't a big fan of the Friday Night Knit Club, or Friday Night, I think that's what it was, or several other knit fiction books that I've read, but this one is awesome. It is a love story, yes, but it also tells about this girl achieving her dream of owning her own yarn shop and the startup and the beginnings of that, which is really cool. It was an absolute page turner. I loved it. Don't let my bookmark fool you. I finished it in record time. Definitely go get this book. Rachel Herron, this is her first novel, and I expect lots of awesome things from her. She also has a website as well. It is called, and I'll link this in the show notes, it's called yarnagogo.com, and that's pretty fun and entertaining as well. So definitely check that out. And the other book I have is a kid's book. This is called Farmer Brown Shears His Sheep, A Yarn About Wool. This is cool. I liked it because, and I'll see if I can find the page, Farmer Brown owns sheep, and he does shear his sheep. But he not only shears his sheep, he does something that most males in our culture don't do. He knits the wool into sweaters. He makes sweaters himself, and that's really neat. I liked the gender play on that. So that is by Terry Sloat and illustrated by Nadine Bernard Westcott. So definitely check that out. It's called Farmer Brown Shears His Sheep. That's all I have for you guys today. I'm going to have to cut a little bit because I'm a little bit over 10 minutes. So until next week, Thanks for joining in, and happy spinning and knitting.